Welcome to Paper 5, Communication through Translation,翻訳を通じての Communication, Module 32, Learn while Practicing Translation. And this time we are shifting to joint statement, that is the joint statement between Japan and India, normally signed by the two heads of the states, that is the prime ministers of the two countries. 実践しながら学習する共同声明の翻訳 and the module number is JPN P05 M32. The content has been developed together with Surbhi Lal and Varalika Malik, both the trainee for the OTTP CSAR NESCARE program, and acknowledgement goes to Anu Kumari for helping in collecting the data as well as for the base work. This module covers again the same frame, application of CPCI theory and the translation techniques for translating joint statement, in this case simplification through combination and permutation, and looking through the prism of CPCI is the way that is used here. And in this particular module we are handling the content, that is the joint statement, one part of the joint statement, and that part is defense related paragraph, and the joint statement is 2016 joint statement. Objectives, the professional pursuit remains same except for the fact that the content which is highly technical, highly specific, and where one-to-one correspondence is extremely important, that can be handled through this method. Outcome remains the same, that is we would like to produce the resources including the scholars of translation, and this is just one step further, building ability to analyze and come closer to publish worthy translation, and trainers are targeted through this module also. Let's go for the recapitulations from the previous module. The print is too small, so I'll request Surbhi to read out the recapitulation parts.
Translation techniques are equally applicable on literal text also. Literal and or word-to-word translation is mostly accurate and reads well word-to-word. Implicit or contextual or peripheral equivalents are avoided for the sake of no deviation.
What is being said here, that the same technique can be applied in the case of literature related text also. Word-to-word accuracy will definitely be maintained through it, and some amount of practice can result into implicit, that is free translation also.
Frame transfer helps in understanding the SOV relationship in SL and in rendering of the content in TL. It results in well-framed output, but it is different vice versa, the literal translation only to that extent.
Yeah, this is what it means, is that the frame transfer helps in understanding the subject-object-verb relationship. This remains same in the case of literature also. Basically it results in well framed output, but it is different vis-a-vis the literal translation only to that extent. Means you want to go for more implicit, then you have to work further and try to understand the content and then develop the implicit versions.
Frame transfer, when combined with unit, has the potential to render a better readability and style. The output is close to free translation.
Yeah, this is what takes you to the literature translation, and free translation can be achieved through this mechanism also. If units are captured in large number, then it gives you comfort level, and this comfort level will gives you better understanding, and then you will have, if you have the flair to write literature, then you'll be able to write literature in a very free way.
One step ahead is rewriting the content of SL, keeping in mind the frame in TL to deliver free translation.
That is what is required for all purposes, but in the case of literature this is of particular significance.
Selection of technique or the step-by-step process should be left to the translator, individual choice.
Yeah, it is, it's individual choice. If somebody wants to go step-by-step process, that means you start from the basics and then go gradually to the higher level. Or if you have reached a particular level and you feel you are quite comfortable, then you can jump some of the steps also.
No doubt, translating literature is a
humongous
task and it requires huge patience.
Yeah, there is no doubt. I think my experience says that when when translation is to be rendered in, say for example, English or Hindi in my case from Japanese, then understanding the Japanese takes probably, for example, it takes maybe a particular paragraph or a particular content 1 day or maybe half day. Then you need to consult the author, and that takes another half day or 1 day. Finally you understand. This whole process may take 1 to 2 days. To render it in good Hindi or good English, it takes almost double the time. Now if you are a writer yourself of literature particularly, or that particular area of the literature, then you may write much faster. But I am told by the experts, that means who write literature, that they also at times take 1 week or 10 days or 15 days to even write one paragraph. So it depends upon the the content, the satisfaction of the individual, because in literature the translation is rendered for the satisfaction of the author first, author or the translator in this case first. Let's begin the module, and the examples we are taking are from the joint statement, and the area covered is defense. This is the original sentence which is taken. Actually it is not one sentence, but there are 3 and 2, 5 plus lines, and the English translation done is also listed here. English is coming slightly longer, but looking at the two, both appear to be quite complicated. Now very difficult to say whether the translation is correct or not, because the first impression you are getting is complicated. So how do you evaluate the complicated things? It has to be simple thing, then only you can do the real evaluation. So let us try to translate the sentence using different combinations of translation techniques. Let's first segregate the different components or segments and sentences of the sentence. Now this is the main sentence. It's divided into 2 sentences. There was a full stop, so 2 sentences are very clearly available. Even looking at these 2 sentences itself, you feel little more comfortable. So now let's translate it one by one. Let's go by 5W1H, and so you don't want to use frame here, you want to go without frame?
Yes.
Okay, she's confident, so let's try. But something has been taken out, that is Ryo Shunova, the 2 prime ministers. That means the topic has been segregated. What it means is that in your mind you have kept that you are talking about something, and that something remains in your mind, and you start with the 5W1H question. Yeah, what's the first question?
Nanyoshita.
Okay, Ryo Shunova Nanyoshita. This is quite a reasonable question. So can you read out the answer? Indo Taiheyo Taiheyo Chiki no ante to hae ni okeru ryokoku no yakuwari o chousei shi. Shi means there is some continuation. So what could be the next question? Soshite. Yeah, good question. That means she gives an indication that there has to be something in continuation, and that comes Anzen Hosho Boe Bunya ni okeru kyoryoku o isso kyoka suru hitsuyo sei o aratamete hyome suru to tomoni. Again to tomoni, that means it's continuing. We'll come back on this sentence. Yes, let's see the next question. Sori to tomoni nanyoshita. So let's go back to the previous slide. The questions and the answers. Yeah, okay, answers are given here. Indo Taiheyo Chiki no ante to hae ni okeru ryokoku no yakuwari o chousei shi. And to the second one, again it's going up to aratamete hyome suru. Something is aratamete hyome suru. The translation for these 2 is given on in the right hand column, that is the target language equivalence. And the third question we have already seen, the answer is quite long. It is Nichin Boe Sobi Hin, then that means noun. Then there is Gijitsu Iten Kyote, again a noun. Kyote is a noun. So Oyobi Nichin Himitsu Gunji Joho Hogo Kyote, again a noun. So there are 3. 1, or it is, yeah, 3. 1, 2 and Oyobi, and the third one Toyu Futatsu no Boe Wakugumi Goi Hako o Kangeshita. So it's Kangeshita, and there are 2 means the first one is 1 because there is a dot in between. So there is 1 Oyobi 2, so A Oyobi B, and the first one has got 2 components in it. So welcome the coming into force of the 2 defense agreements frameworks, such as the Japan-India Defense Equipment and Technology Transfer Agreement and the Japan-India Confidential Military Information Protection Agreement. These terms are better not to take risk with these terms, and if look for the equivalent on the net or in the English version of the statement, joint statement. There's every possibility of getting the English equivalents. The topic separation plus 5W1H we have seen here worked very smoothly. However, other combinations such as frame plus 5W1H and could have also been applied in this particular case. Therefore, it's better to try the simple possible way first. That means 5W1H, simple 5W1H, then maybe go for topic plus 5W1H, and if you still feel that there is a need, you're making mistake or the comfort level is not getting high, then go for frame plus 5W1H and so on. And so on means substitution, dropping of elements. That means making the sentence lighter. Yeah, please read out. I can't read this. It is Nichin Himitsu Gunji Joho Hogo Kyote. Yeah, that's the compound noun here because it's the Kyote. Yes, can you read out can you please read out loudly the English part?
Japanese equivalent is a compound term with no particles in between. Thus, elemental relationship becomes vague, though more elements are used to make it explicit. Okay,
yeah, this is important. You know, if we see the English equivalent and the Japanese one, the Japanese compound has got more number of elements, which means something which was not clearly explained or which was implicit in the English has been made explicit in the case of Japanese, but the elemental relationship is not defined because the particles are missing. So in a way it's user friendly because it's explaining further, but at the same time you need to use you have to have a Japanese mind. That means you have to think inherently in Japanese way to understand the elemental relationship, or the other way around is to handle it, to create corpus of such terms where you don't have to bother about what is the relationship between the elements. Now this is the published version. This translation is actually English to Japanese. You know, the first version was English version and then the Japanese was translated, and there is a reverse translation done by translator, in this case Surbhi and Varalika. Now we have the published version here, then we have the Japanese translation, and then it is followed by the reverse translation. Using these three, let's try to see the CPCI. That means where there is deviation or where the equivalents used are core equivalents or implicit equivalents. The first one is they. Now they has been translated into Japanese as Ryo Shinova, and in the reverse one it is the two prime ministers. But the two prime ministers is the translation of Ryo Shinova, which is not wrong, so this is fine. But English to Japanese, they is becoming Ryo Shinova. Let's see, it's being called here peripheral. The reason is that they can be used in English provided the two prime ministers or the phrase saying the two prime ministers has been covered before this, because in the second occurrence the pronoun can be used in English, whereas they is not very good when it comes to Japanese. In Japanese the equivalent for they is not will not be appropriate to use it even in the second or third occurrence in the running text. The next is a little longer, so can you Surbhi read out the published version?
Stressing the role of India and Japan for stability and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region.
Yeah, I would like to mention here that even reading this part alone, that is stressing the role of India and Japan for stability and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific region. Just try to see the difference when Surbhi read and when I read. If you pause at a proper place, it becomes easier to comprehend, becomes easier to understand. Now, if you have these type of segments, 2 or 3 or maybe 4 such segments in one sentence, the sentence obviously will become difficult. This means that you need to absorb it very carefully, and if you are not able to, then even this can be treated, or this segment can be treated as a microframe, and 5W1H can be applied on this, and this can be translated separately. The Japanese TR and the reverse TR are given here. The comments are that in published version, number 1, the frame transfer is not accurate. In the published version means the published to Japanese TR, the frame transfer is not accurate, and the elemental relation was not captured properly. So it can be said that the elemental relation not captured properly means if it was captured properly, then it would have been transferred also properly. So the category equivalence category here is CPCI is implicit because it's a difference of style. Now again, they welcomed O Kangeshta and welcomed Da. So they welcomed and welcomed Da. So that means there's a very clear change of, as in the case of previous example, there's a very clear change of style in this case. In Japanese, the two sentences have been merged, therefore not using Ryoshono is natural, as Ryoshono is subject and two sentences have been merged. Category in this case is implicit. The entry into force of, and force of, then there is some gap and then agreement is coming. So the entry into force of something, some particular agreement, is very compact in Japanese. It's goi hako. This is very interesting because goi is fine, goi is agreement. Between goi and hako, particle is not required. This is quite natural way of writing in Japanese. It has to be understood, and when it is translated back into English, it is coming as the coming into force of and then agreement. This coming into force of is hakko, that is hatsu plus ko, and ko in fact stands for validity or in effect, and hatsu is the beginning of that. So it comes into effect is the implicit equivalent. But in English, this is explained here. In English, it is explicitly explained. However, goi hako is very compact way of saying in Japanese, and it's entry into force of the agreement, which is explicit translation, significant expression for such substances. Therefore, it's better to save it as B unit, maybe expression. So at unit, it's a core equivalent. One more. What's the published version here? This is concerning, and Japanese is toyu. Quite different, concerning toyu, and the toyu has been translated as such as, which is not bad. Can you read out the comment, please?
Meaning is not significantly different, though there is deviation when seen from elemental relation point of view. Different style of writing, literal meaning is called.
It's different style of writing and literal meaning of toyu is called. Now let's not talk of toyu versus such as. Concerning toyu is quite different, and this is it cannot be called anything except implicit. In the running context, it's going well, so that means it has to be seen in the context. And I would like to read. Can you read out the concerning part in the published version in the sentence? Concerning what?
They welcome the entry into force of the two defense framework agreements concerning this.
Fine. Okay, so it's basically they welcomed, and they welcomed agreements or coming of the agreement. So they welcomed an act related to agreements, and then I'm saying concerning the transfer of, concerning something. So agreement relates to something, and in Japanese, instead of saying concerning, it is saying something called something. So it's quite a good amount of deviation. Probably concerning was not a good equivalent for concerning could not be located, because it could be ni kanren suru actually means it's not the same, it's related to that, whereas what is being talked about is same. So in English, concerning something serves the purpose, whereas in Japanese its equivalent may not serve the same purpose, so toyu has been used here. So translation is correct, but it's implicit. Okay, once again, can you read the published version?
Concerning the transfer of defense equipment and technology, and concerning security measures for the protection of classified military information.
That small component was not enough, so the whole thing concerning something has been picked up together for the implicit or for the CPCI relationship. And if we look at the Japanese translation, it says something toyu, and whereas in English it says concerning something. Those who know Japanese to this level or Japanese of this particular level, you will understand that this is not the exact translation for the concerning, but when it comes to this particular context, this is probably the best translation possible. So therefore it's a correct translation, implicit translation at the clause level. Now we are going to the sentence 2 and again trying to apply 5W1H to see, let's see what result it gives. Once again this team of Surabhi and Varalika have gone for segregating the topic. They found that if they have the topic in their mind or if they have the topic separately, they can handle it easily. So the two leaders and Nani Otsuji, what is Nani Otsuji, Boe Sobi, and what's next? Kaku Gijitsu Kyoryoku? Kaku Gijitsu Kyoryoku ni kansaru Jimu Rever Kyoryoku Kyogi Otsuji. So Kyogi is noun, Kyogi Otsuji, so through a particular thing, fine, okay. And through this, what do they do? Nani Osuru is the next question. So Isso no Soho Hoko Kyoryoku, Gijitsu Kyoryoku, Kyodo Kaihatsu Oyobi Kyodo Seisan Otsujita. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4 basically verbs changed into nouns. Cooperation, then again cooperation, and then next is production. Through these 3 acts, Tsujita, that means this whole thing is becoming adjective. A, B, C, O, Tsujita, then it comes Boe Buyani Okeru. So in the area of defense, Kanyo o Sarani Kakudai Saseru Hitsuyose o Kyochoshita. So they emphasized Kyochoshita, the need or the necessity to expand much further. Okay, so let's go. Yeah, this is fine. Yes, can you read out the comment?
Comparison of published and reverse TR indicates incorrect frame capturing from Japanese TR.
Okay. So this is the problem of reverse TR. In the reverse TR, in the previous slides there was a comment which where it was mentioned that going from English to Japanese and again translating the Japanese into English is one way of checking whether you are doing the translation correctly or not. And here this reverse translation is different, and because the Japanese translation is not different, so it very clearly shows that in the frame capturing from Japanese TR to reverse TR was not done accurately. After analysis, it was realized that 5W1H questions were not specific to ensure correct answers or to ensure correct capturing of the content. Niyote, Tsujita and Kyocho in series could not be handled with the topic, that is with the topic plus 5W1H approach. Niyote was coming one, Tsujita was coming, and then Kyocho were coming. So there were too many components which could not be probably correlated. So let's now try to see if we can add frame to this particular example. That means instead of picking up topic plus 5W1H, let's go by frame plus 5W1H. Does it help? Now this is a frame, and the frame here is Ryo Shunova Hitsuyuseo Kyochoshita. Okay. Now this is emphasize necessity or emphasize on the necessity. This is effect of published version. Now let's apply the 5W1H. Okay, Donna Hitsuyuseo Kyochoshita. So because these Varalika and Surabhi have done this translation once, now they are able to answer bigger components. So Isso no, first is Kyoryoku, Soho Hoko Kyoryoku, so it's bilateral or both sides call it cooperation. Then again Kyoryoku, that is Gijitsu Kyoryoku. Then Kyodo Kaihatsu, so it's Kaihatsu. Oyobi Kyodo Seisan, so Seisan. So there are 4 actually elements. Seisan Utsujita E no bunya, boe bunya ni okeru. So in a particular domain, Kanyo o sarani kakudai saseru. This is quite clear. Okay, dono yoni and dono yoni is coming as gutaiteki joken no tokte ni muketa giron. Can you read out this? I'm reading correctly. Gutaiteki, yes, you just check again.
Gutaiteki means Gutaiteki
Anken, I think. Gutaiteki anken no. Yes, please read out.
Tokte ni muketa giron o
Sokshin.
suru koto ni yotte.
Okay, so by doing something, ni yotte. So, and so by promoting discussion. Okay, next. This is the next question. Do yatte. It's boe sobi. Then gijitsu kyoryoku ni kansuru jimureber kyogi o tsuji. And that there comes the complete sentence. This time it's quite close, I believe. So application of frame plus 5W1H is helpful in rendering an accurate translation. You can take the risk of going with the topic alone or even without topic also, provided you are quite comfortable with that. This means either the sentence should be too small or too simple, or you must be having enough experience of handling such translation. The key learning here is that the process-oriented translation restricts the scope and inculcates the discipline. 5W1H questions sequence does not matter, but sequential questions certainly is a better option. It's an easier process. Now let's go for CPCI, Joint Working Group on Defense Equipment and Technology Cooperation. This seems to be a proper noun because Joint Working Group itself is a we're talking about a group which is on a particular thing, in this case on defense equipment and technology cooperation. Normally this complete phrase will not change unless and until there's an agreement between the two sides to change it. So obviously Japanese side will also have a similar fixed phrase for this, and the fixed phrase in this case is boe sobi gijitsu kyoryoku ni kansuru jimurebur kyogi. The interesting part here is the joint working group is getting translated as jimurebur kyogi. Now just try to imagine the joint working group. Actually it means that there are two sides, two parties. There is a group which works on something, and this works jointly on something. So it's not defining what level it should be. So this means joint working group can be at a level of the highest in the bureaucracy. It could be at the level of a second level, that means director level, or maybe at a much lower level also. But normally it is found that it's not at very low level, because then the decisions cannot be taken so easily. It's a joint working group, and then and there itself some sort of decisions or direction should be taken. So joint working group is not getting translated into Japanese exactly the way it should be. It's getting the meaning is getting actually rewritten, and jimurebur means official level, not office level. So it's a official level kyogi, and kyogi is basically not, it is not group, it's not working. Kyogi is basically conference or discussion, so it's more meaningful equivalent. And sometimes joint working group you will find in Japanese written as JWG. So JWG is fine, otherwise it's getting translated like this. Ni kansuru is coming here. Kyoryoku ni kansuru. This kansuru is not there. Maximum the word used in English is on. So and reverse translation is working level discussion related to this, of course, is coming from the Japanese TR. So there's a gap in this translation when compared to the published version. And the comment in this case, can you read the comment? The first one is ni kansuru for on. It's an explicit way, because on, when you say team is working on a particular topic, so whether it's working regarding that topic, going into it, or it's working on the surface, it's not very clear when you use the preposition on. Whereas in Japanese, ni kansuru very clearly defines the scope of the engagement. Jimurebur I have already explained to you, and core would be the equivalence at the clause level, or at the not clause level, it is I think segment level or maybe phrase level. Including through nado otsuji. Now this was missed out in the reverse translation through. So nado is a good option, I think, including through something. So I would say nado otsuji. So A, B, nado otsuji will be for including through A, B. So it's core at unit level. Yes, by what's written there, by expediting, by expediting discussion for what is that, determining?
Discussion for determining specific items.
Okay, I don't think I can read the Japanese. Can you read out? Nihon gutai. Yeah, gutai teki.
Anke.
Okay, it's the same. Gutai teki anken no tokute ni muketa kyogi o sokushin suru koto ni yotte. And in this case, let's see some elements. First is koto ni yotte for by, ni muketa for, and let's talk about these two. I think koto ni yotte for by is core equivalent, and ni muketa for using for ni muketa, because muketa it gives direction, so it's not the core equivalent. So this goes as a peripheral equivalent. And then gutai teki anken no tokte for determining specific items can be considered a unit, and this unit is implicit. The equivalency in this case is implicit. Yeah, you'll have to read the published version. Like
underscore the need to further expand defense engagement through greater two-way collaboration and technology cooperation, co-development and co-production.
I think, in case you feel that because I could not, for me the sentence, the size of the font is too small, so it looks complicated. For you, maybe the terms could be complicated, and for some it's too long. I would say if you consider this as long, then go for substitution, and otherwise read it with good prose. For example, underscored the need to further expand, and then after expand, I think it's noun, that is defensive engagement, and then it says through greater two-way collaboration and technology cooperation, co-development and co-production. So through, there are 4 ways listed there, so you can pick only one out of that, and then it says need to further expand, and then it says through. So not very complicated, so it needs to be only replaced. So let's see the equivalent. Isso no so hoko kyoryoku, noun, then gijitsu kyoryoku, then kyodo kaihatsu oyobi kyodo seisan o tsujita. Now this is through, and then boe bunya ni okeru kanyo o sarani kakudai saseru hitsuse o kyocho shita. I think now it's clear. So let's talk of some of the elements that can be taken as for the database. Isso for greater is peripheral equivalent, because isso stands for one layer. So one layer does not mean whether one layer up or down, but normally when it comes isso, you already have a layer of thinking. When you say isso, it should be overlaid on this layer. So isso is greater. Then so hoko is actually two-way. This can be, it's not used normally bilateral. It's two ways better, because going from one direction, and so stands for the other direction. So this is two-way. And kyodo is ko as a suffix. Now for greater, using isso is peripheral, as I've just said. Two-way for so hoko is again peripheral, and kyodo for ko as a suffix can be taken as core. Find the learning for this particular module are topic plus 5W1H works, but other combinations too must be considered. That means adventurism is definitely, I won't go against adventurism, but it should be reasonable and justified. Substitution plus frame plus 5W1H is one approach. The next step could be frame plus 5W1H, and next step could be 5W1H. I would say for the next step, that means you do not go even for 5W1H approach. This is how one can go step by step and develop your own methodology. Questions in 5W1H to be derived from the text, that is verbs in this particular case we found, and sequential order is a better option. More the verbs or verbal expressions, more could be the questions. Main verb should be linked to the topic or subject to remain focused, at least to begin with. And the key point, the process-oriented translation restricts the scope and inculcates discipline. Restricts the scope means that you do not go outside the scope. You remain focused into the, it does not mean that it does not allow to work on it. What it means is that it does not allow you to go outside or away from what is being said in that translation. And language specific learnings are that for certain nouns, Japanese may not render graceful pronouns, whereas in English, pronoun is used at the second occurrence of the noun. So for example, there was one occurrence, they was used for the two prime ministers. In English, it's quite fine, it's coming at the second occurrence. In Japanese, it's a issue, so it's not used. Then explicit, implicit compounds. In general, Japanese compounds are found explicit, though ambiguous elemental relationship renders implicit equivalents more elements but no or less particles in between. Therefore, technique to understand the elemental relationship is the key. Not so difficult. You have to develop it yourself. This is one area of research which still remains unexplored to a great extent. One way of quality learning process is reverse translation. That means start with the source language, go to the target language, and then translate it back into the source language. These are the references that have been used in this module. Thank you so much, and see you again with few more examples in the next module, that is module 33.